the truth you hold so dear, the bedrock of your reality, isn't truly yours? What if your most fundamental understanding of the world, your deepest convictions, were not born from independent thought, but meticulously planted by forces you never even perceived? This isn't about obvious coercion or visible manipulation. It's far more insidious. It's about the subtle, constant, collective shaping of your very perception. Today, you will understand the consensus illusion, a dark psychological mechanism that tricks your brain into accepting popular narratives as undeniable truth. Recognizing this illusion is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is your essential defense against unseen influence, against becoming a pawn in a game where the rules are written by others and your opinions are merely echoes of a manufactured reality. This knowledge will arm you, allowing you to reclaim ownership of your mind and the authenticity of your perspective. So, how does this invisible architecture of belief actually operate? It begins with the masterful construction of a perceived majority view. Imagine a vast, sprawling information ecosystem. Into this system, specific narratives are seeded, not through overt commands, but through carefully controlled channels. One foundational model for understanding this is Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman's propaganda model, outlined in their seminal work, Manufacturing Consent. This framework describes 5 filters through which information passes, systematically shaping what we perceive as news and thus what we consider collective reality. First, there's the filter of ownership. Who owns the media outlets and what are their interests? Then, the advertising filter. How do corporate advertisers influence content to maintain their favor? Next, the sourcing filter. Media relies heavily on information from powerful government and corporate entities, making their perspectives dominant. The fourth filter is flak, which refers to negative responses or pressure groups that critique media for straying from the established narrative, effectively punishing deviation. Finally, the anti-communism or common enemy filter. This has evolved into identifying any convenient enemy that mobilizes public opinion and stifles dissent. These filters don't just censor, they actively construct a consistent, almost monolithic worldview. They create an environment where certain ideas are amplified repeatedly, while others are either ignored, ridiculed, or simply never see the light of day. The effect is not that you are told what to think directly, but that you are presented with a landscape where only certain thoughts appear to be valid, popular, or even permissible. This systematic narrowing of perspective convinces your brain that everyone thinks this way, or this is simply how things are. The consensus illusion weaponizes your innate human drive for social cohesion and acceptance against you, making you believe that the prevailing narrative must be true, precisely because it appears to be so widely accepted. But what if that widespread acceptance itself is an illusion, a cleverly orchestrated performance? This mechanism is not just an academic theory, it is at play in every corner of your daily existence, silently determining what you accept as truth right now. Think about the news cycle. A complex international event unfolds. Initially, there might be nuanced reports, conflicting analyses, a spectrum of opinions, but very quickly a dominant narrative emerges. One side is framed as the clear aggressor, the other as the unambiguous victim. Certain experts are perpetually featured, their viewpoints elevated. Counter-narratives, if they appear at all, are often presented with a dismissive tone, framed as fringe or unreliable. Before, you might have felt an urge to research deeply, to understand all angles. After the consensus illusion has been fully deployed, you find yourself defaulting to the established narrative, perhaps even repeating its talking points, simply because it feels like the common sense understanding. You feel a subtle pressure, a quiet discomfort if you voice an alternative perspective, precisely because it deviates from what you are consistently told everyone knows to be true. Or consider your workplace. A new, controversial policy is introduced. In private conversations, you hear colleagues express significant concerns, even anger. Yet in public meetings, when management discusses the policy, a peculiar shift occurs. One or two vocal proponents express enthusiastic support, and then a ripple effect takes hold. Others remain silent or offer only lukewarm, non-committal assent. The manipulator here, often a management team or even an individual leader, understands that public dissent is often suppressed by the perceived majority. They know that if they can establish an initial impression of consensus, even through a few planted voices, the natural human aversion to social isolation will do the rest. Before, you might have felt empowered to raise your questions. After the public narrative takes hold, you bite your tongue, convinced that you are the only one with doubts, or that your concerns are simply not worth voicing against such a seemingly united front. Is this starting to feel familiar in your own life? This phenomenon is vividly explained by Elizabeth Noel Neumann's spiral of silence theory. She posited that individuals have a quasi-statistical sense, an ability to assess the climate of opinion. If they perceive their opinion as being in the minority, they will be less willing to express it publicly for fear of social isolation. This silence, in turn, makes the perceived majority opinion appear even stronger than it might actually be, further discouraging dissent and creating a reinforcing spiral. The result is that the consensus you observe might not reflect genuine widespread agreement at all, but rather a collective silence born of fear. Whether it's a political stance, a consumer trend, or even what constitutes acceptable behavior in your social circle, the consensus illusion leverages this fear, making you self-censor and aligning your public self with a truth that may not be your own. So, how do you defend against this omnipresent yet invisible manipulation? How do you distinguish between genuine collective understanding and a manufactured consensus? There are three crucial lines of defense. First, cultivate informational skepticism and source diversity. Never take a single narrative, no matter how pervasive, at face value. Actively seek out information from multiple sources with demonstrably different perspectives and editorial slants. If all your information comes from the same 5 outlets, you are likely consuming a pre-filtered reality. Look for independent journalists, academic research, and international reporting. Do not just consume news. Dissect it. Ask, what is being emphasized? What is being omitted? Who stands to benefit from this particular framing? This isn't about cynicism, it's about intellectual rigor. Second, identify the orchestrators and their motives. Every narrative has an origin, and every origin has an agenda. When you encounter a seemingly universal truth, pause. Ask yourself, who is consistently pushing this idea? What organizations, what individuals, what corporate or political entities are repeating this message? What do they gain if this particular narrative becomes widely accepted? Is there a financial interest, a power interest, an ideological interest? This shifts your focus from the message itself to the forces behind it, revealing the hidden architecture of influence. Third, and perhaps most importantly, practice radical internal validation. Your internal compass, your critical thinking, your own observations of reality are invaluable. Do not outsource your truth to the loudest voices or to the perceived majority. If something feels off, if your intuition raises a flag, honor that. Journal your thoughts, discuss with trusted confidants who aren't afraid to challenge groupthink, and most importantly, give yourself permission to hold a dissenting view, even if it feels isolating. Your intelligence and your independent judgment are your most powerful shields against the consensus illusion. You are capable of original thought, and protecting that capacity is paramount. You now see the subtle currents that move beneath the surface of everyday interaction. You are no longer a passive recipient of public opinion. You are an informed observer, an architect of your own understanding. The world hasn't changed, but your perception of it has. You see the deliberate silences, the carefully placed talking points, the almost imperceptible nudge toward a particular viewpoint. Every social interaction, every news report, every public statement now carries an additional layer of meaning, a hidden stratum of influence that you are now equipped to decipher. This newfound awareness is a profound responsibility, but also an immense liberation. You have now peered behind the curtain of manufactured reality, identifying one of the most powerful and pervasive psychological mechanisms at play. Carry this vision forward. The journey to true autonomy, to a mind unburdened by unseen manipulation, has just begun. There is far more to uncover, deeper mechanisms to expose, and more powerful defenses to build. Keep learning, keep questioning.